doing that, the court is saying, one, this is technology that we're not too familiar with. We're rushing in some sense to get the answer out here. Two, this is content neutral, and it's not about the specific speech that's being made, but the manner in which this data is being collected. And as Devin pointed out, the security risks that are put forward here and that the government is worried about outweighs that of the risk of violating or potentially violating First Amendment rights. So it's well written out. I'm still kind of going through it, but that seems to be the consensus as to why we're here.
So because the ban is aimed more at...
There is nothing funnier about this than it has such a funny Western world flavor to it where they just have to do this legalese in an effort to make it seem as though there is like a valid reason. And this is not disruptive. And it's not like purely an insane move that the American government is engaging in that's like ultimately censorious, right? Xenophobic and censorious, because that's precisely what it is. It's xenophobic, it's anti-competition, it's censorious. It's all three. It's the triple Monty. It goes against like the principle of American enterprise. It goes against the principle of freedom of speech. That's what it is. But because we have to always behave in a way where like this is done within the confines of a legal structure, it's not pure autocratic control. It's actually done at the best. It's actually done within the legal structure. So it's actually totally permissible. The media and all of these like legal scholars have to play this song and dance of like trying to find some sort of legal reason for it that makes this appropriate. The reality of the matter is there are no backdoors into TikTok because it is at the end of the day a Chinese corporation. There are no ways in which the American government can control the flow of information on TikTok. Okay? But also on top of that, TikTok has an incredible algorithm that is better than all of the other algorithms combined. And the American tech CEOs are desperately interested in either undermining said algorithm, destroying it, or purchasing it so it becomes an American competitor. It is in the hands of an American CEO so that they can use this as a weapon to wield down the line. Okay, does the same go for Tencent? Never heard you talk about Tencent ever? No, I have talked about Tencent quite a bit. I've actually warned that the American government will probably go after Tencent in the same manner.
Data collection and who owns the app versus what kind of speech is happening on it. It's not a First Amendment violation.
Correct. And when you talk about First Amendment, you often talk about how someone is being limited, what is being limited, and what means it's doing so. And it seems like the law here navigated those rules of First Amendment violations and the law in a way that the Supreme Court said that this is not about First Amendment, this is not a violation, and that there is an interest in which the government does have in protecting.
Yeah, like I said, the funniest aspect of this is that like people will be like, well, the Chinese government bans Facebook. Okay, that's wrong. But you understand that that's wrong. So is your argument that it's only wrong if China does it, but it's right when America does it? Like, what is the argument there? Do you think it's wrong or do you think it's right? Do you see what I'm saying? Because that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's precisely what it is. It's like they don't want such a successful social media company to be owned by a foreign adversary, a big foreign, scary foreign adversary. That's it, okay? That's it. That's it. They have no backdoors. There's no way for them to control the flow of information. And the straw that broke the camel's back objectively was the ADL doing a final push because they showed how much teens were being radicalized about the Israel stuff, where there's this massive divergence between those who are under the age of 35 and those who are over the age of 35 at this point with respect to how they analyze the genocide of the Palestinians in the hands of Israel with our tax dollars. That was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Donald Trump's administration wanted to ban TikTok. People have been wanting to ban TikTok for quite some time for the reasons that I mentioned. Okay, there are multiple different factors at play here. Other social media tech giants want to own TikTok, understand its algorithm, and want to basically not have that be competition. Okay, that's why YouTube Shorts is popping off. That's why Instagram Reels is popping off. Like they're trying to actively TikTokify their own social media platforms. But because they can't outcompete TikTok, they want to eliminate it. On the other hand, from the State Department interest, they're worried that, TikTok is not controllable. There is no flow of information that they can control on that platform. So they don't like that kids are getting radicalized. Okay? Then they claim that it's because actually they could just have compromising data on people that inevitably become like, members of the security apparatus or senators or whatever, but they're actually using, if they're on TikTok, then like the Chinese government can blackmail them down the line. And it's like, none of our data is actually private. They could just go to a data broker if they want to do that anyway. It's ridiculous. The irony, of course, is, and this is the reason why I don't think TikTok will be banned inevitably, is because it has too many American institutional investors that make money off of it, okay? That's why I think it's like ridiculous that these guys are even having this conversation at all. But yeah, I mean, this is it. I've played this before. We've heard the ADL private conversations before, but the notion that like 7 million small business owners have popped off of TikTok, you're just going to cast them all aside, and the billions of dollars in revenue generated off TikTok, you're just going to throw it aside because it's owned by the Chinese. It's owned by a certain percentage of it is owned by the Chinese government or ByteDance, which then still has to go back to the Chinese government and do whatever the Chinese government wants, is ridiculous.
Why has the PR been so awful? I know that's not your area of expertise, but you have to have some thoughts on that, which is, I mean, as you've said, why has Hamas disappeared in terms of public perception? An offer is on the table to have a ceasefire, and yet the world is screaming about Israel. It's like, why aren't they screaming about Hamas? Accept the ceasefire, bring home the hostages. It said it's all the other way around.
Why won't they eat our propaganda as readily any longer? Why won't the kids believe our propaganda any longer? That's the name of the game here. That's what the actual point of contention is here. Okay? You don't get it. You might never will. TikTok sheds light on the horrors of the genocide that Israel is committing, and that is horrible. Facebook empowers genocide like how they did in Myanmar, and that's obviously good. Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, typically the Israelis are good at PR. What's happened here? How have they and we been so ineffective at communicating the realities there? And
we're on an intravenous feed of information with new impulses, inputs every millisecond. And of course, the way this is played out on social media has dominated the narrative. And you have a social media ecosystem environment in which context, history, facts get lost, and the emotion, the impact.
They're not even talking about like context, history, and facts, by the way. They're just straightforwardly talking about like their version of events. That's it. They are only talking about their version of events. That's it. They want to only have one set of facts that are readily available for all. And that's what they want. They want to be able to consistently have a faucet of propaganda. And TikTok has its fair share of this as well, by the way, like right-wing propaganda, reactionary propaganda. The problem is it also has some left-wing propaganda. It is the only platform in the United States of America that has some semblance of parity within the ideological left and right spectrum. That's it. That's what they're afraid of, and that's what they're terrified of. That's what they do not like. The fact that, leftist sentiment goes above 20% on TikTok as opposed to every other platform where it's basically completely dominated by right-wing narratives is what's so scary for a lot of people, because God forbid young people, because of the way that like TikTok operates, because of the way that the TikTok algorithm operates, they don't care. It just doesn't matter what the ideology is. There's no markers on like what kind of ideological predisposition you have. If it's just like something is popular, something is readily consumable, people watch it and people blow it up. And that's it. That's it. So that is terrifying.